Hey everybody, welcome back to another review. Hope you guys been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. Excuse me if my hair is a little messed up. Just kind of sat and watched this first thing in the morning, or at least first thing I did today. Uh, just because the weekend's going to be a little bit busy, so I figured just get this out of the way so I can have seen this without some interruptions. Um, that film being The Killer, which was directed by David Fincher, produced by a screenplay by Andrew Kevin Walker, who, if I look into real quick, has credits including Sleepy Hollow, most notably, of course, Seven, which Seven's pretty darn good. Also did Windfall most recently, and The Wolfman from 2010. Um, Starring Michael Fassbender as a nameless assassin who is tasked to kill a just a random target in Paris, and the film illustrates this through a bunch of rambles. The character has like, inner monologues, um, and what happens is that the mission goes wrong. He misses his target quite literally, and what follows is uh, a revenge plot to what because he ends up going back home in the Dominican Republic, finds that his house has been broken into, his wife or his girlfriend, whatever her affiliation um, is badly injured. He goes on a mission of revenge, and goes on like this globe-trotting sort of thing to find 30 of the people that are responsible for the incident. Um, and what follows from it is something that has some earnest tension. I mean, it's David Fincher, so I mean, there's always an air of tension that is felt within his films. And when you have someone like Michael Fassbender leading it, you're going to get some pretty good acting. Because I think Fassbender is always a treat to see on screen. Um, Tilda Swinton also makes a small appearance, and funny enough, I thought she was somebody else. I don't know the actress's name, but there's a point where Michael Fassbender's character encounters, I guess you could say, his boss, and he has like an altercation of some sorts, and the boss's assistant ends up going with Michael Fassbender's character for like a period of time. I swear that was like Tilda Swinton under like a bunch of makeup for some reason, and it wasn't, but it was really weird. It was really off-putting. Um, but I think there's also a good score there. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross provide the score, which I thought was pretty nice. Has this like off-putting, unnerving like quality to it, while also throwing a little bit of like modern like style. Um, I think that what ultimately hinders The Killer for me a lot is a lot in in a lot how it operates, because as I said earlier, it loves to speak in rambles. At least the character likes to a lot. It's to represent his lonely like quality, the isolative nature that the character possesses, especially within his line of work. Um, and within that, also you get some levels of like uh, of insight as to what's an inspiration of sorts for the film. I got a lot of Hitchcockian vibes, particularly Rear Window, in terms of how the film is set up, um, and in general of how it moves. It feels like a Hitchcock like scenario, um, but they emphasize a lot on this inner monologue and a lot about the character speaking to himself. And I think that with that, it's funny enough, the character himself even vocalizes this. It feels at some point just highly redundant. And within that redundance, I think that they're hoping to achieve some more deeper level of understanding and enrichment of the character. But what you get more of is something that's pretty casual and pretty blatant as to, as to what it really is. Because essentially, I mean, it's a pretty standard idea of someone, consequences to bearing that lack of focus and obtaining a greater sense of paranoia, and how again how that could change or leave you in a state of a frenzy and lack of attention. Um, but I feel that idea of being so vocal throughout the film hinders, I think, the more deeper understandings and more of the tension that could have been felt, really, because silence is what really gave this more skin. With how much it was talking, I think that that really brought down the investment, but also just the the overall just like aura of it. Like it's one of those times where you know when you hang out with someone and it's just like you're in a decent spot, but then they just don't know when to stop talking. Like there's just points of like where silence is key. And you really need that silence. You don't always have to vocalize. What's going on. Like it's like kind of like that kind of person, a person who just doesn't know when to be quiet. You know, um, and that's sort of the issue with the film is just the fact that it doesn't know when to stop talking. But it does have again interesting points to it. Like I said, Fincher with how he builds tension at points feels earnest. Michael Fassbender being in the lead, I think there's some good acting being brought forth, and I liked overall the setup of it, inspired by that of like Rear Window and some other Hitchcockian stuff, kind of like a little bit of North by Northwest, a little bit. Um, at least to my memory of North by Northwest. It's been a while since I've seen it. Um, but that redundance, that emphasis on rambles, that utilization of rambles, I it, at some like at the beginning I kind of get what they were doing, but as time went on, it just became so much more defining than understanding. Like it became much more of the definition of redundance than actually utilizing it in a meaningful manner where it actually plays to that character. And I can understand why we're having to be so repetitive and be so, coming, like operating like this sort of way. Um, I just felt more at some points annoyed and thus kind of tuned out. So because the more silence that the film, the more present the silent was, the more involved it was. And then when it started to speak again, that's when I started to find myself tuned out. So when silence is there, I think that it starts to become something much more involving. When it does start to talk, then you're just like, okay, okay. Because his rambles also aren't really that deep. I mean, he's just pretty much stating like just again the ideas of the film, which is just being focused, stay focused, and just talking about like life in general, like looking for that purpose, falling back to the establishment of his loneliness and that isolated nature he possesses. Like it's not anything that really rich. Um, so as I said, I think that ultimately those rambles, if utilized in a different manner and also provided more of a sense of an actual depth to the character, then I think that it would have played better. But because of how shallow it is and how how more or less it interferes with the story, I just found myself tuned out more than actually involved with its with its atmosphere. So yeah, it's fairly skinless. I'll say it. That's the best way I can put it. Um, like it's a fairly skinless type thriller. Um, when silence is there, that's when I can feel the layers and feel more of that skin. But when that stuff isn't there, which is quite a lot of the time, then you have something that is uh, much more skinless, as I said a moment ago. So, um, So yeah, so those are my thoughts on The Killer. I thought it was fine. Nothing too annoying, nothing too memorable either, which is a funny line. One of my favorite lines in the film actually is avoid being memorable. Well, I mean, it pretty much is that. Pretty unremarkable. Has some redeeming, some interesting qualities there, but I feel that, I feel that it has the mentality of a visually driven story, of a visually driven type of, narrative, and I don't believe that the film itself is understanding of that sort of thing. So, but you guys let me know your thoughts on The Killer. If you guys have seen it, let me know in the comment section below your thoughts. And that's gonna be it for me, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in, and until then, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.